Super Health Podcast.
And I Living.
My name is Dr. Samuel Santok.
And I'm Amanda Banayot.
And in our today episode, we're going to talk about leaky gut syndrome and intestinal permeability.
But before we continue, we would like to show you guys where you can find us on social media. You can find us on Instagram at yuma.yogamedicinal or at Dr. Samuel Santok or at UIM Medicinal Yoga. And if you have any questions, if you would like to book consultations or any suggestions that you would like to hear about on our podcast, we would gladly receive it at info@yogamedicinal.com. And also, if you would like to reach us through WhatsApp, that is our phone number on the screen.
Okay,
And
great.
you can also find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
Okay, and if you are watching us on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and hit the bell. And YouTube going to notify you when we have a new episode of this podcast. So, making all this, I feel when I talk about this, I feel like in Black Mirror.
Yes.
But it's okay. It's the things that the people is hoping when they see and listen all this stuff. So it's okay.
Yeah, to see where they can find us. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. First, we want like to make to discuss these terms like leaky gut syndrome and intestinal permeability. But first, I want like to show you this study. This one of my favorite studies. You can find this study in Frontiers in Immunology and in Nutrition that talks about the relationship that has to have the immune system, the metabolism, and the microbiome to have a good nutrition. That is very important. Why I show you this first? Because if we want to talk about intestinal permeability and leaky gut, we have to talk about the immune system and we have to talk about the microbiome. And the first concept that we want to talk about is the intestinal barrier. What is the intestinal barrier? What? Okay. Can you explain us in an easy way, Amanda, what is the intestinal barrier?
Well, we have a lot of barriers in our body, and for example, we have maybe the skin barrier, but the intestinal barrier is all the lining in our gut, starting from our mouths all the way through our esophagus, our stomach lining, our gut lining, and it's a lot of meters of it's very extensive, and a lot
Yeah.
of things go on in there, and it's um it's important to keep it healthy.
Yes. One of the things that is important about the intestinal barrier that is an interaction of a lot of things. One of the things that interact is the intestinal microbiota that is in the relationship with one of the main cells in the gut that is called the enterocyte. The enterocyte is the epithelial barrier that is going to protect us from the toxins and the environmental things that can harm us inside. And then we have like in a very inside our body, we have like the immune cells that we can see in this image. For example, in this study published in European Molecular Biology Organization, they talk about how the gut flora has a forgotten organ, and they talk about the immune barrier in the gut. That is, here we have like the bacteria, we have the enterocytes that I talked about before, and the immune cells that interact with the enterocytes and interact with the bacteria. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is very important because it is like a ecology system that has to be in balance in order to have a good health and have a good absorption of nutrients. Because one of the things that one of the functions of the barrier is to prevent water come out of our body and minerals, and one of the things that also do is to absorb nutrients.
Okay.
from outside when we eat, and that is very important because that's going to have like a very um, for example, to understand this, we have to talk about another concept that is related with the immune barrier, that is the intestinal permeability.
Okay.
And the intestinal permeability refers to the ability of the intestinal lining to control what substance pass through into our bloodstream. In a healthy gut, the intestinal lining acts as a barrier, okay, and allow only good nutrients to absorb and keep harmful substance out. That is
Okay.
very simple to talk about this.
Yeah.
The interaction is the permeability. So when this permeability is disrupted, this is called leaky gut. And leaky gut is a disruption of this barrier
Okay.
and these interactions. So I want like to show you this study that is very important, that talk about these three linings. We have like intestinal microbiota, we have the mucosal immunology, and we have the intestinal permeability. That is that function that I talked about before. So these three things going to allow us to digest foods, take liquids uptake, all the interactions in the cells that you see this in this image. So it's, it's very important, all of this. And another thing that's very important, for example, in this study, they talk about the interactions between the microbiota and the immune system. Okay? Okay, okay. So we have questions about these two concepts that we talk about. We talk about first the intestinal barrier, and then we talk intestinal permeability. So
Okay. I wanted to ask you, why do you? Well, I know why, but for like our listeners to hear about it, why do you think that in general in medicine the gut is like a forgotten organ?
yes, because one of the things that that's happened for with leaky gut syndrome is when, for example, when you go to the doctor, to the gastroenterology, these these lesions in the gut,
Yeah.
the gastroenterology can see these lesions with endoscopy and colonoscopy.
Okay.
They are not like big lesions
Yeah. So they're not visible.
they're not
Yeah.
visible. Yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
and that is very important because, for example, the person go to the doctor with symptoms in the gut, and they say, "Oh, let's do endoscopy and colonoscopy."
Colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy. Oh, that
Yes.
word is doesn't good for me in English.
Yeah.
So, and when you got the results, they are okay
Yeah.
because the leaky gut, they don't send, it's not visible. There are molecular things that are happening before having a big lesion in the
Okay.
colon, in the stomach, in the esophagus, in the duodenum. The,
So we could say that it's also a low grade inflammation. No, it's like
it,
it slowly kills you.
yes, yes, because the leaky gut syndrome is a condition when the lining of the intestines becomes more permeable than normal,
Yes. Okay.
allowing harmful substances such as toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles to pass through the bloodstream. So
Okay.
it's the disruption of the intestinal permeability. That's why
Exactly.
this is important.
Yeah. So you have
Um,
maybe like um the toxins that your body has not been able to keep in because your gut is leaking, and then you just have like a crazy party in your bloodstream with things that shouldn't be there.
yes, yes, yes. I brought this study published in the Journal of Endocrinology in 2021. Then we saw here the healthy gut, that it have a normal good barrier, and we have all bacteria. We have the mucous layer that is over the enterocyte, And the enterocytes have these time junctions that are very important.
Okay.
That time junctions are proteins and, micromoleculars that are going to keep the barrier closed.
Okay.
In
Because I
order,
think that's another question that I wanted to say. Is the because maybe some people have the idea that our gut, our lining, is just like one long piece of skin or like a cloth, maybe, but it's important to explain that they are just a lot of different cells that are tightly stuck together.
yes, yes, and I want to show you this study that we can see like better the image that we have the two cells, the enterocytes, and we have like the gum that keeps together. I, I,
Yes.
I can we can say like the tight junctions are the fibers that are going to keep all together in
Okay.
order for those harmful bacteria and foods that is not digested pass through our bloodstream.
Okay.
So this is very important.
Mm.
What happens when occurs the leaky gut syndrome? These time junctions are destroyed. And the
Okay.
question that we have to ask are what are the causes of leaky gut syndrome? Because
Okay.
there is not only the nutrition that causes this problem. So one of the things that causes leaky gut syndrome is the standard American diet, that also called sad diet.
Sad diet. Very
Sad,
sad.
very sad.
Yeah.
Because what is the standard American diet, Amanda?
Okay, well, basically, it's I mean, if you talk about like the typical American diet,
Yes,
it's
yes, yes.
French fries, a burger, and meat that has been very processed. It's not fresh meat, and cheese, and ketchup, and mustard, and mayonnaise. That I mean, now even mayonnaise, they're making mayonnaise with soy. It's not
Yes.
even like
it,
oil or
it's like crazy all this
yeah,
because also the standard American diet has a lot of sugar,
exactly.
a lot of chemical ah, uh,
Additives,
additives
additives, and
additives.
like yeah, a lot of processed like buns, donuts, all these things that are not whole foods, which is something we're going to talk about today.
Yes, yes, yes. And one of the things that causes also leaky gut syndrome is the chronic stress that we talked
Yes,
about in
friends.
previous episodes.
Yeah.
Also, the prolonged use of antibiotics
Okay.
causes leaky gut syndrome.
Mm.
One of the things that's very important is when you have an infection from Helicobacter pylori,
Mhm.
then doctor give you acid blockers, and those acid blockers causes leaky gut syndrome when you take those for a very long period of time. So
Yes.
that is very important.
And also like
Also,
people who medicate themselves because oh the doctor told me to stop taking this but I still have it, I'm going to take it every once in a while just in case.
yes, yes, yes. Also, synthetic synthetic hormones like
Okay.
the birth control pills
Yes.
causes this problem of leaky guts, and different toxins in our food. For example, pesticides, heavy metals, plastic is,
Exactly. Yeah.
causes all this. And I think that these things together causes the leaky gut syndrome, like a poor diet with a lot of refined carbs, processed food, sugar, chronic stress, antibiotics, birth control pills, acid blockers. We are talking about the person that is regular or take antidepressants because they
Exactly.
are depressed.
Yeah. Or
Those,
that drinks the water from the tap
yes,
instead of I mean bottled water is not the best option either, but
no.
getting a good filter is ideal. But I mean the water here in Canada and the US, I I don't know. Because there's heavy metals, there's asbestos, there's yeah, we already talked about that too in our microbiome episode.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that happen. Okay, I have leaky gut syndrome, and the question is, what are the symptoms
Yeah.
of leaky gut syndromes? How can I detect that? One of the things that is important that the problem with leaky gut is that can be the link of the causes of autoimmune disease. For example, a person with autoimmune disease, migraines, or hormone problems, or obesity, or type 1 diabetes, or
Or thyroid,
lupus, or
thyroid.
thyroid problems, or depression, or anxiety, all those people that have all these different problems have in common that have this problem, the leaky gut
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's very
Exactly.
important because seem like they're on pair, but in the reality, when you saw in clinic, all the relationship that all these people have that have this problem in the immune barrier.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted to ask you also the relationship between the leaky gut and, for example, arthritis. You
yes,
know how?
yes. It is very important because, and I want to do like a sample. Imagine that your intestinal barrier is like a net with holes in, and
Okay.
from those holes passes the food. Okay,
Okay.
and you have like a basketball that if you throw it in that net, the basketball that is beat it is not going to pass through that net because
Okay.
the,
Holes are too
the
small.
holes are too small.
Okay.
Um, you have the causes of leaky gut. The causes of leaky gut are like scissors. For example, antibiotics, acid blockers, anti-nutrients,
Yes.
poor diet. That are like scissors that are going to cut that net and going to make the holes bigger. And what
Okay.
happens when the basketball go inside, touches that net? How the hole is bigger is going to pass through your blood and going to pass through your body, and
Yes.
those substances that are bigger is going to have be in contact with different organs in your body. For example, your thyroid. And
Okay.
when that substance that is no is like an antigen that is called in immunology an antigen
Antigen.
glue in your thyroid, the immune system going to see the basketball there to
Yeah.
keeping
I was like,
with
what
the
is that
sample.
doing there?
What is that
Yeah.
doing there?
Yeah. So
That
that's
doesn't
when it
have to be.
starts. Yeah.
Yes.
That's when it starts attacking the thyroid, thinking that it needs to help it, but maybe that basketball takes a long time to go away, and then your thyroid is affected. So yeah.
Yeah, yes, and this is very important. For example, I have in the same study they talk about the leaky gut. That is an impaired gut barrier, and you can see
Yes.
in the image. You just watching us in YouTube that the bacteria can pass through. The
Yes.
bit antigens can pass through to our blood, and the immune cell is not going to say, "Oh, hello, you can pass through." No, it's going to attack those substances,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this can cause a chronic inflammation.
Yeah.
And this is very important because when we talk about also anti-nutrients that are in rice on leguminous grains, and they have all these substances that destroy
The guts. Yeah.
the gut. And we can see also in like the whole picture here, and we can see all of this. We have a healthy gut, or we have a leaky gut. And when we see like the arrows, we can see like the green arrows that if you have a healthy diet, you're going to have a healthy gut. But if you have food additive, unhealthy fat in the diet, the toxins, drugs, sad diet,
Yeah. Bad diet. Yeah.
um, and those things are very important. In another study, show us how this gut barrier dysfunction It's going to cause problems in our liver, problems in our adipose tissue, problems in our muscle, problems in our brains, problem in our articulation, and this is very related with arthritis and arthrosis. So this is very important for
Yeah,
to keep it to
because
resolve these problems.
yeah, it's the same thing, like the gut is open, so the basketball goes and stays in your maybe in your hand,
Yes,
and
in the articulations.
yes, in the articulation. So
That
that's your
that that is calling immunology a neoantigen
okay,
because
neoantigen.
that basketball is like imagine that is the food that is not digestible from your
Okay,
pancreas and
so
your
it just
enzymes.
exactly. So it just deposits somewhere in your body, and maybe
Yes.
you have like an elbow ache, or maybe you wake up in the morning after having feasted the night before, and you notice that you are a bit stiff in your articulations, and
Um,
that is
um, and one of the things that provoked that basketball, we talk about the basketball because that is the sample, ¿vale? We talk about the net that cause an inflammatory immune cascade that going to
okay.
cause you, for example, brain fog, memory issues, allergies, food intolerance, joint pain, migraines, headaches,
Yeah.
skin rashes like acne, rosacea, eczema. Those are problems in our barriers, and those are
Yes.
symptoms of leaky gut syndrome. So if you have all those things, you have to look this.
Yes, but another thing that I find funny is that when you go to your doctor because maybe you have arthritis, they will just give you a medication for arthritis. If you have brain fog, then they will just say, "Oh, you need to take this, and maybe you'll feel better." But they don't go to all the way, and they deepen into what could be the cause of all these
Yes,
things.
and to find the root of the problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
And these things is one of the root of the problems because
Yeah.
this is going to cause an impairment in our body. They're going
Yeah.
to have a problem in the nervous system, immune
Yeah.
system, endocrinology system. That is not PNI living.
No, no, from PNI living. In PNI living, we would explain why you're suffering what you're suffering. You would already have like a decrease in your stress levels, and because you understand the problem, you feel empowered because you're saying, okay, well, I know what is happening to me. I know what I can do, and most of the time, it's as simple as changing what you eat.
Yes.
You don't have to do like any crazy chemotherapy or any crazy like cycle of medication, a medication cycle. You just have to change what you eat, and I think that's very how would you say, uh I don't know the word, but it
No,
gives you
is
hope. It gives you
that
hope.
give you hope, and it is very surprising for a lot of people to hear that
Yeah,
all the problems that you're having have a solution, but it takes time.
yeah,
A lot of patience,
yes,
and it takes to learn and to listen your body. Also to
exactly, because
listen your body. What is happening
yeah,
to me? Because, for example, you go with a stomach ache and you are floating and you are have a knee and eczema and you go to the doctor and the doctor say, "Oh, you look okay," and you say, "But I don't feel okay."
yeah,
You have to look that a lot of things happening inside your body.
exactly,
So
exactly.
one thing that we wanted to bring today was some solution for this problem because one of the things that Amanda already talked about is to the diet. And the thing that we have to do is have a clean up. The first thing that we have to do is to clean up the diet.
Okay, so clean up the diet. Yeah.
Clean up the diet. That is like the first steps that we can
Yes.
have. How we start with this? Having whole foods,
Okay.
having organic foods, not having GMO food. That is very common
In America, yes, and in the
in
US.
America. And you have to stop eating sugar, stop eating processed food, start
Yes.
eating vegetable oils,
Yes.
start eating gluten, dairy, also.
Yeah.
So
Grains.
grains.
And but not this does not mean that you have to start counting calories.
No, the cutting calories is a wasting of time. It's wasting
It's a waste
time.
of time and it's a stress on your nervous system and your endocrine system and your stress levels. Yeah.
Yes, yes. How you can see, when we talk about leaky gut, there is a problem in the cell. That is the enterocytes. That I want to show you this. Yes, you can see in this image. This was published in Frontiers in Endocrinology
Okay.
in 2021, and we can see here a healthy gut, and we can see the inflamed gut, and you can see that the barrier is open. That is the problem of the leaky gut. The intestinal barrier, it doesn't work. We have like to give different substance to close this. And the study said that the amino acid that our intestinal system needs is L-glutamine.
Yes. L-glutamine and we were talking about I totally forgot now.
Don't worry
Oh yeah.
because
Okay, I remembered. Okay, so you can take L-glutamine as a supplement. They sell them, and it's also very important not to buy L-glutamine that has sugar, the
oh,
additive, the flavoring. It's
because
like
that is going to destroy the microbiome, that's going to destroy the
even more. Yeah,
enterocyte, is going to destroy the time junction, so it's a waste of money.
exactly. And another way to get glutamine and collagen naturally is through the bone broth. So
Yes.
if you make yourself some bone broth with organic meat, with organic fruits and vegetables, and you make it, for example, for the whole week, and you just drink your bone broth, and that will help your gut.
Yes, and the bone broth is going to have the amino acid food for the enterocytes.
Exactly.
That is the things. And it's going to heal and seal.
Heal and seal.
Heal, yes.
Heal and seal. Yes.
I like to talk about in English because I have a lot of catchy phrases that in
Catchy
Spanish
phrases. Yeah.
there aren't. So heal and
There,
seal.
I know.
There
I know.
are.
Yeah.
It's very easy. So we give you two steps. I think that the third thing that we have to talk about is we need to improve the microbiome.
Yeah.
Yes, and how we can do that? How we can improve the microbiome in a very easy way?
Okay, so first we suggest is taking prebiotics, which are just the whole foods, you
The
know,
whole
like
foods, yes,
the cabbage that will, when you consume it, your microbiome will do the work of trying to, well, feeding off of it,
yes,
and then it will create what we call our postbiotics.
yes,
So
yes, yes,
a good fermentation that will help your gut have a good ecosystem.
yes. Because like to have a very good symbiotic system that you have like prebiotics that are all the fiber that you bacteria and your fungus eat have a good probiotics, and that combination going to bring postbiotics. Postbiotics are the substance that create the bacteria and the fungus from the metabolism of the fiber.
Exactly.
So
So
that is very good.
yeah, also the probiotics. For example, if you have a leaky gut, you most probably don't have a great microbiome.
Yes,
So it's important to take probiotics
yes,
to help re-establish a good base.
yes, yes,
And probiotics could be, well, you can buy the probiotics, not
yes.
the ones that have added rice powder, not the ones that have uh,
One of the one of the problems that is happening in North America, and we talk about this in the last episode, is the supplements. Where you buy your supplements, for example, the
yes.
probiotics. Because one of the problems that is happening is when you buy these supplements from big marketplaces,
I know, because
they
everybody's making probiotics now. They're like, oh
yeah.
yeah, this is what everybody wants. We're gonna make probiotics.
And for our listeners, I think that if you want to find a good probiotics that doesn't have garbage. you,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can lose all the time. It has toxins and chemical stuff. Don't buy it.
Exactly.
One of the things that have to have a lot of bacteria. A good
Exactly.
probiotic has almost 12 or more bacteria inside.
Okay. Yeah.
Less of that is not going to do anything because
Yeah.
our gut have like 10,000 of bacteria. So if you only put in 12,
Yeah. Exactly. So 10,000 strains of
yes,
bacteria. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes, 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 and that is very important. Also, you can find probiotics in dairy-free yogurt. You
Yeah. Like,
can, okay,
or water kefir.
yes,
Something that I found very interesting when I started all of this is that everybody was like, "Oh, kefir," but they were making it out of yogurt.
yeah.
But you guys introduced me to water kefir, and it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing, amazing.
Yes,
Also, you can find yogurt, plant-based yogurt, the
exactly.
coconut yogurt,
Yeah,
cashew yogurt, almond yogurt. And
exactly.
remember, read the tab. It's a have
Yeah,
sugar,
really.
it have additives, it have don't buy
Yeah,
it because you
yeah,
are
exactly.
going.
If it has like maltol, xylitol, and things like that, stay away. Stay away. Yeah.
Also,
Another thing that I
okay, okay,
Another thing that I got into was kombucha.
yes.
It's and brewing my own kombucha at home. It looks very weird, but it's amazing too.
Yes,
Yeah.
for the people who doesn't know what's kombucha, that is fermented green tea.
Okay.
So it's very important because has the kombucha also have a lot of bioflavonoids that going to provide substance like going to repair the enterocyte. So it's
Yeah.
going to keep in the same way of heal and seal.
Exactly. We say that the bioflavonoids are antioxidants.
Yes, the bioflavonoids are antioxidants, but also provide substance for the cells to heal itself.
Okay. Okay.
So it's very
Exactly. So you have a
important.
lot of tips, a lot of amazing things that you can start implementing.
Yes, 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 yes. Also, if you combine, I think that the fourth step is combined with the other three because
Yeah.
we talk to have healthy postbiotics.
Okay.
Postbiotics is all when you clean your diet, you having good prebiotics, having good probiotics. You're going to the result is that your materials and your microbiome going to produce those postbiotics. But I think that we can talk this in another episode
Yeah.
because the postbiotics you can also give it in supplements. Also the postbiotics.
Really?
So
Okay.
so it's very good. But last but not least, it's very important that remember that the chronic stress and the bad manage of stress can cause the leaky gut syndrome. So if you are stressed, you can have a slow and mindful eating. That is very important. And
Yes.
one of the things that we saw in the clinic and when we have the patient that when you have problem of digestion to use digesting enzymes and
Digestive enzymes.
apply different sources that can help you to manage the stress. For example, doing medicinal yoga. So,
Yes.
and if you want to have excellent medicinal yoga classes in English, you can reach out Amanda. We can have a group of English classes online also. So
Exactly.
we can provide that for
Yes.
you, I am. So it's okay.
Yeah.
What happened? What would happen if when this is have a resolution? What is going to happen with your body?
That you're going to stop having the crazy symptoms that you're having. For example, like you're having migraines all the time, or for example, what we are talking about, arthritis. Maybe you're 30 years old and suddenly you're starting to have arthritic symptoms and
Yeah.
you're wondering what is going on with my body. Oh, my grandfather died or had arthritis. No, it's not hereditary. It's because you have to heal something serious in your body.
That's going to happen. All the things that we talk about that is going to, for example, you have migraines, joint pain, eczema, bloating, food sensitivity, allergy, infections, is going to resolve in a very easy way. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It could be slow, but it's
Yeah.
steady. Slow
Uh,
but steady.
And one of the things that I want to talk about is like you have to check your gut and your mouth and
Yeah. Yeah.
because the intestinal system starts here in the mouth. So
Yeah.
it's very important if you are bleeding and you have sensitivity in your mouth, that is that are also symptoms of leaky gut. Okay.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you about the importance of the mucus barrier
Okay.
and how it's also affected by the different foods that we have, because I remember one image that you just showed how when there is when the tight junctions are open and there's
Here,
a leaky
I'm
gut.
going to be here. This
Exactly.
one. Okay, okay,
So
okay.
we can see that the level of the mucus barrier is
Yes,
has reduced.
because when we study the intestinal barrier, they are not only composed of enterocytes. There are also different cells that are going to keep all together. And one of the things that one of the cells that are inside this barrier, this epithelial barrier, called the goblet cell. And the goblet cell is a cell that is going to provide that mucus. That is a
Okay.
layer that is going to stop all the bad things to go
Or
inside. So
protect
so
us, no?
it's going to protect us. So it's not only affect the enterocyte, it's going to affect different cells in all the epithelial cells that protect us also from the bacteria and the undigested foods, and that is very, very important. And one of the things is happening that the mucus layer
Will reduce.
it will reduce.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
And then the other thing that I wanted to ask is the importance also, or to say, or to bear in mind the importance of taking, for example, your probiotics when you're fasting, not with your foods, because then it's still
No,
like
that, one thing that is important is that when you are eating when you are using probiotics,
yeah,
that are living things that things that you are taking are going to live inside of you.
yeah,
So the best way for those to go inside is when you don't have food in your body,
okay,
because when you have food in your body, one of the things happening that the acid in the stomach and the pancreatic enzymes is going to destroy the bacteria
exactly,
that is coming from the probiotics. And
yes,
one of the things that is very important that the probiotics doesn't only don't only don't have bacteria, also have fungus. A good
okay,
probiotic also has different fungus that,
yeah,
that's
that
going to
help to
yes,
make like a good environment.
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. That's very important. I
Yeah.
think that we give a lot of tips for today episode.
Yes, I
So
think.
remember, this you are watching us on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and hit the bell. And that's the best thing for us to motivate us to keep going with this
Exactly.
stuff.
And
And
if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to ask. We would be more than happy to see that you guys are interested and that you have any questions.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. We want to finish with our mode. That is
Our motto, our
our model.
motto
Model. Model is
is you
you
first
first, then
and then
the rest.
the rest. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See you. Remember that this episode is going to all Saturdays. You're going to have a new episode of this podcast. I hope you
Yes.
like this episode. So see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.